All right, yeah, if you didn't hear over the weekend, I believe it was yesterday, Cam Sutton turned himself in. You can see that video here. I mean, just still a crazy, crazy story that's still developing. I mean, we still don't know all the details of it and what came to be, what exactly he did, but he's finally facing the music. He's finally manning up to the situation. And I mean, I think when this news story broke, Braylon, you and I were on the air.
Yeah, we were.
And we talked about it for a good hour. And, you know, I think we did a good job of being reserved, not judging. But I think the one thing that we both thought was running made it very suspicious.
Yeah, 100%. You know, when a warrant is issued for something that you know you clearly have done, at the end of the day, you get with your attorney, you get with your lawyer. You know, you may be the person that you trust, maybe a mother, a father, a grandmother. And you guys come up with a plan, but you turn yourself in. You know, you turn yourself in, soften the blow, and start getting to the crux of a thing, man. But when you flee, and we talked about it, like that was the one thing about it. Like we were on both sides. Say, hey, we're not saying he did this, not saying he didn't do this. This is just what we're saying in the moment.
Right.
But the one thing we both say, fleeing the scene is crazy, especially in 2024. Fleeing period, which we'll talk about. Rashi Rice, but leaving the scene, ignoring the warrant. Like why? Like why? And you can be scared all you want to, but you do things, you have to face a consequence. So I just hope that this situation somehow is a more dumbed down version of what's been said. Obviously, it's been said strangulation is what she's claiming, saying that he strangled her. So I'm hoping it's a dumbed down version of it, and he can get his life back on track. But if it's not, then maybe this is a wake up call for whatever demons or something that he was dealing with, and he needed to be set down.
Yeah, and him waiting so long to turn himself in, it really is strange.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, what's even more strange is we haven't gotten more details in this story than what we had 2 weeks ago when it first broke, and me and you were talking about it on the air. Like we still don't. The person pressing charges hasn't come forward with their side of the story. Yeah. We haven't seen a police report, which you normally see in these situations. And what's even more bizarre that I think we learned after the fact is that he was in Allen Park when the news broke, and we were all sitting here looking on Twitter like, is this real? Is it not Warrant Wednesday?
It wasn't April Fool's Day, I tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if the news broke today. But he was in Allen Park and still elected not to turn himself into officials, not to make a public statement, not to go on social media to defend himself. And he's waited this long to go into custody. And I'm not sure what happened. Is he going to post bond? Probably. Yeah. But I don't know what his bond's going to be because he's clearly a flight risk, taking too long to turn himself in.
That's true, but he eventually did. And that was the other thing, too. It didn't seem like Florida, the county he's in, it didn't seem like they were really pressing the issue. It seemed like they were kind of making light of it, didn't press the issue, and that's why he's taking so long. Also, too, who knows where he was at? Was he out of the country? Was he in a place where he couldn't? Is he getting his vacation out of the way? But it's interesting that the Lions waited so long to say something. Now, I'm not going to say whatever, but the Lions waited. The Lions knew that day, and they didn't issue anything. They didn't say anything until 2 days later, I believe, is when they said that he was in the facility. So that's also kind of interesting, too.
Yeah, because one thing that we talked about was, like, this was Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell's really first opportunity to show that, hey, you're a Dan Campbell guy, you're a Brad Holmes guy, you're my guy, I'm going to have your back no matter what. Now, they didn't come out and defend him. No. They didn't do anything of that sort. But I think what they did by not doing anything quietly showed that they still had his back, right? Okay. Like if you're a player and you're in the team facility and this news breaks and the Lions are like, listen, we got to let you go, but we're also not going to be snitching on you right now. Go get out of the building. We don't want to be a part of this. You could be anywhere else but here right now. But what we aren't going to do is go turn you over to the feds either. So I think that, like, as a player and a culture, and I'm always looking for the locker room end of it and what that sends to the other players, it shows that, listen, these guys stand on business. You mess up, you're off the team, right?
Yeah.
But they're you're my guy.
Still my guy.
I'm not going to screw you over.
Yeah, it's true. And the Lions were able to play coy, too. They were able to say, hey, look, we told him to turn himself in. So they were able to use that. But also, they had his back. They gave him a couple extra hours or extra day or so to figure out what he was going to do. That's when the team showed you they care. That's when other players can say, hey, look, you look at the situation with Aaron Hernandez, and I hate to bring that name up and everything that happened in that situation. But look at Robert Kraft in a moment. He came down in the weight room. Very similar. Mm-hmm. You talked about Aaron Hernandez was there that day after it came out, what had happened. And Robert Kraft asked him a simple question. Said, hey, look, did you do this? And he said, I didn't. Robert Kraft had his back, chose to believe in him. So when franchises believe in you like that, that's when guys want to play and guys want to come to those teams, man.
Yeah, because that's, to me,
you
that's
get discounts.
That's the sub-story underneath all of this. Like, how did Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell navigate this very tricky thing to not only show support, but also show the heavy hand?
Yeah.
And they did both, like, expertly, right? I mean, if I'm a player looking to go to a team, these are the guys I want to go to because they're not snitches, but they're also men and are going to hold me to a certain standard. Like, I couldn't figure out how they were going to do this.
Yeah.
And that once again, Brad Holmes proves to be a masterclass in anything that he does. And he showed to me, and I'm sure he showed to the rest of that locker room that, hey, you're one of our guys. We're going to protect you, but also it's to this point only. Yeah,
100%. And, in the chat, feel free to comment so we can read some of these comments and see how you guys feel about it. But, yeah, I think Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have done the tough thing since they've been here. There's certain players that they don't bring back, and we'll get into that because there's a player right now that's going to a team that is a team that we're worried about in the playoffs, but they've made the tough decisions on certain players. Hell, they fired Anthony Lynn. Anthony Lynn was a guy that Dan Campbell
loved him.
Got out of retirement, made him the offensive coordinator, and then, oh, by the way, before the season's over, he fired his buddy. Said, you're not getting it done. I got to fire you. Aubrey Pleasant. Fired Aubrey Pleasant, the guy that was Aaron Glenn's guy. Dan Campbell had to make the tough decision. So they've made tough decisions, and Cam Sutton getting rid of him after the situation before finding all the details, it's just another, I would say, notch in the cap.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think it's just another way of showing that they're excellent leaders. It's easy to lead when things are easy, right? When you're winning, when everybody's happy, and it's hard to lead in difficult situations. That's actually when you need to be a leader, and they did a great job.